Welcome to the live stream. Haven't done one of these in a while, so you can probably enjoy me making a fool of myself, but nothing unusual about that. 11x Legend Climb. We're at Diamond 10. We're going to see if we can finish this baby up. And while we're getting into a game, we're going to do a supply check. We have coffee. We have water. Always got to have your beverage of choice. Your beverage of choice is beer. That's probably why you miss Lethal so much. Don't drink and try to gain ranks. Imp Warlock, we're against Hunter. I like the matchup. I think this was my most recent video. And we got a pretty nice starting hand here as well. We want the Imp package stuff. We're going to get rid of both Tamsin and Bran. Try to get some more stuff to be able to support this start. Likely looking at turn 1 Librarian, turn 2 Fiendish Circle. And certainly hoping our opponent gets off to a slow start, but if they get off to a fast start, usually you're pretty okay with this deck. As long as we can fight for the board, we just don't want to take too much damage. Play Imp stuff early, then get into the curse stuff around the mid-game, and finish them off with curse damage. That's typically how this matchup goes. Sometimes if their start is slow enough, they can just fold to the pressure of a good aggro start. Potentially a good example here. We're going to just go ahead and get the Librarian on the board. And then next turn again, we're likely just going to look to coin the Fiendish Circle and then go face with the Librarian. It's going to give us a nice wide board. Hunters tend to struggle with wide boards. You know, they can't clear a lot of individual bodies, I guess is the correct way to say that. And we're just going to keep to our plan here and coin the circle. And then, of course, you never make this trade. We're going 5 damage face. If we make the trade here, then they have a 2-1. Then that gives them a good trade on the Librarian. We miss 5 damage face. It's just incorrect to trade there. Harpoon Gun's a good turn 3. We're hoping that they don't hit a beast. Hunter can actually scam. If they hit like Hydrolodon or a Mountain Bear, something like that. It's looking like we're just going to tap and touch on this guy right here. And we're going to push some more damage face. So we've got some good chip damage. As long as our opponent doesn't scam us with some kind of a dredge off the Harpoon Gun, we're probably going to be able to win this game. Lots of curse stuff in hands. We just need to be able to get there. Still need more cards as well, though. They did hit a Rat King. The Rat King isn't like a super big deal here. It is going to be annoying, but it's not going to be game-winning. A Hydrolodon would probably be game-winning. A Mountain Bear would certainly be stronger, I think, than the Rat King. Our opponent's low on cards here, which is good for us. Not a whole lot of card draw in that deck. So we could just play the Cultist and start putting curses in our opponent's hand. We could tap, trade touch. We could even just like go full defensive and drag below, trade, touch here. That spends all of our mana, puts a curse in our opponent's hand. I think we just don't want to take damage. Sometimes this game can get up to, you know, turn 9, where your opponent can just play a King Crush. I think it's most important here is going to be to just not take a lot of damage early. And I actually totally messed up this order. This was a big time misplay. I got distracted by talking too much. The Rat King should have died last. We've already killed 2 minions for it coming back, so that's definitely a misplay on my part. If we lose this game, it could potentially be because I misplayed that turn entirely. Unfortunate for me. We see the Arelon come down, which is again unfortunate. And here, I think we're just going to get the Zakul in play. Other option would be Cultist Tap. If we go Cultist Tap, they can make a trade here. This pops. I think we actually need to tap. We're going to need more cards to be able to win this. Ideally, we would like to be able to hit Lady Darkvein soon, so that we could play Abyssal Wave, and then have the Abyssal Wave in the Darkvein, especially with the Grim Sack in hand. You can see we've got the curse counter here. This is your next curse, so our next curse is going to hit for 2. We're going to be tracking... oh no, wait, that's 2 in his hand? Tavish, a good play for him here. Likely a freezing trap. Also, until the traps proc, we're probably going to have to play around motion denied for the rest of the game. It's going to do 9 damage if we play 3 cards in a single turn. It's just really, really strong. That's right, it was the second curse because we played a dragged below. So, if we play Abyssal Wave... Hey, Cax. We could play the Abyssal Wave, but I would assume that one of these is probably an ice trap, so then we just skip our entire turn. Monitor is zonking out on me here. Technical issues with the live stream. You can't see it, but I do. I'm getting a black screen. Can we afford to just do nothing for a turn and make one of these significantly more expensive? It's actually a tough turn. I think we're going to have to. We need to get rid of the... we need to get rid of the ice trap. Alright. There's the ice trap, just like we thought. Been waiting for Control Shaman gameplay. No, you're not the typical control guy. Yeah, I don't... Control Warrior is the one that I really, really hate. Just because of the long games. Control Shaman isn't as bad, and in a lot of ways it's not even a true control deck. But I don't find myself playing a lot of Shaman. I try to play decks that I enjoy. You know, everybody has different tastes, and I think you're going to perform better with a deck that you actually like. So even if the deck is like the best deck in the game, if you don't like playing it, you might actually do better with a lesser deck. So this is unfortunate. We're going to take a lot of damage here. Almost on a level that we might be losing this game. Extremely unfortunate. The Tavish with the ice trap and the cards that we had in hand basically caused us to skip turn 6. So if we lose, that's going to be why. They take 3. We'll be able to put 4 or 5 in their hand and heal for 9. They hit a Huffer. Got no such decks right now, unfortunately. Hey, Desk. Yeah, I think there's a lot of people right now that really not enjoying the current meta, which is unfortunate, but I mean, it's a good time to take a break with Hearthstone. The problem is, it's kind of like a two-edged blade, as they say, because if you're free to play, or if you just try to maximize your free-to-play potential, if you're not playing, then you're not earning gold, which means you may not be able to buy a lot of cards with the next expansion. So if we Abyssal Wave, we're just dead here. He gets a couple of 2/4s, and the Rat King also pops. If we heal for 9, it's not enough. We go to 15. We could, let's see, Curse. That's 4 mana. We would still have to tap. I don't think there's any way out of this game. This just looks like a concede. Unfortunate. We had to skip turn 6 because of the ice trap. We had a fairly good start, but we never just... I don't know. I mean, we had a lot of cards in our hand. We just didn't have the cards that we needed. And we didn't have a good way to be able to play around the ice trap. I can't remember if I was on a win streak, but when you lose and you're on a win streak, it's like extra painful. I'm just going to assume that I wasn't on the win streak. Try to protect myself from the emotional damage. It's always also really nice when you hit a win streak going into Diamond 5. Sometimes you can skip like all of Diamond 5 and just be in Diamond 4. Like we're against Druid this time. I feel like I'm seeing more aggro Druid than I am any kind of ramp Druid, but it doesn't really change our mulligan. We still just want the imp stuff. I don't think Rafam is even a keep here. If it's aggro, we're going to want more early game stuff. And if it's ramp, we still want more early game stuff to be able to put pressure. I think there's some matchups where Rafam is a keep, but I don't think this is going to be one of them. We're just going to get the Flame Imp down on the board. And that's a nice top deck here. So we're just going to play it. We do float a mana. We could have tapped, but it's going to be better to get the Librarian, especially with Fiendish Circle coming in as our next turn. I would assume because they skipped turn 1 that it's also not aggro, but we'll find out pretty quickly whether it's aggro or not. And, I mean, to be honest, this is looking like a win. Just because our opponent is AFK. And we're not AFK? Uh-oh, man. Do you ever concede turn 3? He ramps. Am I ever just playing the Mischievous Imp? What do they do turn 5? Turn 5, they either play Guff or they want to play Nourish. If they have Coin Innervate, they could have Coin Innervate and Scale of Onyxia, so that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We could just play Tamsin. I don't want to play this just for 1/3/3, especially if they clear the board, it's going to be infused. So I'm actually just going to drop the Tamsin. If they can't clear it, then we got a curse here, drag below, that we'll get a second copy of. And to be honest, they're pretty much on Coin, Innervate, Scale of Onyxia. If they don't have it, then they're just not winning the game. You always love to see the ramp Druids AFK. Coin, Innervate, and Scale. Look at that. Aquatic form into Innervate. So our opponent had to have exactly that. Is that lucky? I don't know if that's lucky or not. I think that might be lucky. Also think it may actually not matter. Unless they have a way to be able to deal with this board as well. Problem here is we're actually low on cards. We do have lethal next turn, even if they're able to shapeshift here. We'll be able to get 1 damage off of this curse. Our opponent's also low on cards, though. They're looking for something that can deal with this board. Even if we can just get them low enough. Created by Planted Evidence. So we definitely want to tap here. Lady Darkvein. Just gonna go Dragged Below and Wicked Shipment here. And then we're gonna have Dragged Below inside the Lady Darkvein with a Grimoire of Sacrifice, which will get us Curse 2 and Curse 3 in their hand. The question is, do we make the trade? And I think the answer is yes. We're going to go ahead and take the trade here because it can protect the 3/3. They pretty much have to have second Scale of Onyxia. I feel like their luck has to run out at some point. I mean, this game was basically over on turn 3. And they had a couple of high rolls, at least in my opinion, to be able to stay in the game. Maddie dog. I'll let my dog out while we're in queue for the next game. Come on. And we're back. I gave Maddie a big pep talk. I let her out, you know, before we streamed. He was outside playing and everything, and I said, look, I'm gonna go live. It's gonna be a while before you get to go outside. And I also said, within 20 minutes, she's gonna be wanting to go outside again. And I've been live for exactly 15 minutes. I know her so well. Against mage. We're gonna toss all this, I think. We don't have a good enough hand to be able to keep the impending catastrophe. Wicked Shipment, we play this on 1, they ping turn 2. Is it even worth keeping the Wicked Shipment in this matchup? What else would we be looking for? Imp, Librarian? Maybe Location? I guess we're gonna keep it. It's an interesting hand. I mean, the problem with the 1 health imps against mage is the Reckless Apprentice. He had a really strong turn 1 as well. What do they do turn 2? They kept 2 additional cards, so they have like the Snow Flurry, the 2/3, and then maybe the Dungeoneer, the 2/3 draw a card, or maybe a Cold Case. Could even just trade this. If we play this and they ping 1 off, then potentially that just saves us 2 damage face. There's the Snow Flurry. And they choose to hold on to it. So, could just coin Drag Below to get rid of this. Could coin the Fiendish Circle. If we go ahead and coin the Fiendish Circle now, we know it's going to be at least 1 more turn before they have the Reckless Apprentice, if they have it. They still have 1 more kept card here. Once that card is out of their hand, I'll feel better. There's probably a good argument that you would keep Reckless Apprentice against Imp Warlock as mage, just because of all the 1/1s. They top deck the Dungeoneer. But they missed on a Frost spell, which is good for us. Grim Sack? That doesn't really help us here. I'm pretty sure we just want to put a minion on the board versus removing something with the Drag Below. If that's Cold Case...
What is taking so long?
Then we would have this, and then we've got a Grim Sack next turn on an Imp, and that's going to clear his entire board, because he's going to go like trade. So we're going to do this and just put all of our damage face here. There's no reason to start making trades, especially with the Grim Sacrifice in hand. We should be able to clear his board, although we may clear our own board in the same process. And there, that was the Cold Case. So we 100% knew what his hand was. That makes me feel good. I feel like I'm playing good when I do things like that. Still doesn't make me want to play Murloc Holmes, though. And then the turn is exactly what we thought it's going to be. Everything goes face, and then we're going to be able to Grim Sack our 1/1. That's going to clear their side of the board. Probably clears our side of the board, too, though. Or almost. But we got to tap here, because...
What is taking so long?
we just want more stuff in hand. We'll be able to play the Flame Imp after the fact, so this is fine. So we'll play the Grim Sack on a 1/1, and then we'll get the Flame Imp down. It's actually pretty good outcomes for us, I think. Keep the minions on the board, they're both healthy. We're going to have a Dreadlich on turn 6. Be able to draw into some more cards. We're going to need the Curse package to be able to finish off our opponent. I'm sure of it. We got to make sure that our health total doesn't go too low as well, though. Because the issue is going to be the Mordresh being able to just deal 10. It looks like we're going to tap again. We tap and go to 6. Next turn we'll draw 7, so we'll still be able to play this. Another touch. It feels really bad to float all this mana. Do we ever just play a touch while we have mana for the healing, knowing that we're going to wipe our own board next turn anyway? I don't think so. I mean, these could still get to attack face next turn. This feels really bad to float 3 mana. But any play that I have would be removing my own minions. Pretty sure you don't ever want to do that. I'm pretty sure you want to do that every single time. So I didn't see this one coming. I didn't know people still played Deathborn in a 30-card version of the deck. But we're fine here. We're not going to worry about that. We are going to take 4 damage, though. And again, the concern is Mordresh. 3/3 on the board helps, though. And it soaked all the damage. So we have no board, but at least we didn't take that damage. So from here on out, the rest of the game is going to be more focused on the curse package. Next curse hits for 2. They're only at 15. And the only healing that our opponent is going to have is going to be the hero card, I think, after seeing the second cold case. The problem is Mordresh is active. If they have it, we could be in trouble. We can go... Let's see, we could do a Grim Sack play this turn. We've got double touch to be able to remove this and get a little healing. Double touch leaves us with 5. And then play out the 3/3s. $16 cards left in the deck. I could just try to put a curse in their hand as well this turn. But I think I like developing a few minions on the board better here, so we're just going to go touch. We're going to go touch again, and then I want to make sure, so I've got an Infuse 2 and an Infuse 3. I want to make sure that I play the Infuse 3 here. So if both of these die, this one's going to be infused. It's important to track those infuses that are in your hand. We like to see our opponent drawing cards. This actually clears our board. The Mordresh is going to be active too. We really need to move things along here. File library. We're going to draw 4 and hope that they don't have the Mordresh. If they have the Mordresh, we're really in trouble unless we can hit a Tamsin Roam. Then we would be able to remove the Mordresh. And I try to make it a habit to separate my minions with the location here in case of an Infused Devourer. Likely they don't have it in this deck, but it's just a habit that I try to get myself into. So we're going to draw 4 and still not overdraw here. So we hit Zakul, that's going to be healing, and we also hit second Cultist. So we can go like Brand Zakul or Brand Cultist to be able to put more curses in our opponent's hand here. Mordresh is a clear. Second Apprentice is also a clear. I feel like I want to be greedy with the Zakul and maybe try to build up the curse count a little bit more to maximize healing. We're still healthy enough that Mordresh doesn't end the game on the spot. But I also don't want to see the Mordresh. Okay. So now next turn, Mordresh actually is lethal next turn because they would have Mordresh ping plus the 5 damage that's on the board. So I think we're going to need to make the Brand. It's a cool play. We could even just go... We can go Zakul, dragged below, and then use the Grim Sack on one of the 3/3s, and that's actually going to clear his board as well. I think I like that better. And then we have Brand Cultist next turn to add even more curses to their hand. And we're going to Grim Sack right here. So this gets the most damage off the board. It means that we're not dead next turn to Mordresh ping. And if they play Mordresh, they're keeping 5 damage in hand, and then we're going to be able to put 6 and 7 with the Brand and the Cultist. So it feels like it's looking pretty good here. We don't even have to be able to attack with the minions on board. And if they don't clear the Zakul, we're going to heal even more. which is exactly what we're going to do here. We're going to go Brand Cultist. And we could even go...
I'm not getting any younger.
Yeah, I think we're not going to do anything too fancy here. Do we even need to tap, though? Is there anything left in our deck that we actually want? Because I'm thinking, if we go like a Brand Cultist, Fiendish Circle, and then we can just buff the Brand. I mean, it's going to get frozen, but it still stays in play. But again, I mean, there's no battle cries that we want to repeat anyway. I feel like I'm overthinking an easy turn here. Still wouldn't mind having the Tamsin, though. We'll go Brand Cultist, and we can even play the... We're just going to go ahead and play the Flame Imp. We take a little bit of damage. But we're going to be healing a lot here as well. We heal back up to 24, so they have to get rid of the 2 curses in hand, otherwise they're just dead. An Abyssal Wave is lethal next turn unless they have the hero card to be able to heal back up. So probably overthought that turn, which is unfortunate, but I guess it's better to overthink an easy turn than to than to throw a game that you've already won. Look at how pathetic this is. I've spent twice as much time thinking about this game as my opponent. I guess it would be even worse if we were going to lose. But I really hate seeing that, man. It bothers me so bad when my opponent is taking so much more time than me in the game. I just sit here and whine about it. Like when I'm not on camera, when my opponent is like 2 or 3 times as much time in the game as I have. It's just salt, man. I hate it. Because it's so boring. Like if you're doing it, I'm sitting there, I'm thinking about my plays. What can I do? What do I need to do? How do I win? How do I lose? But when it's your opponent, you're just sitting there like, I wish they would hurry up so I get a chance to play. Now our opponent is... Now our opponent's roping cause mad. I'd like to think I wouldn't do this, but if I'm being honest, I've probably done this before too. Either rage quit or rope cause mad. This poor guy, man. I feel his pain though. Hey Howie Howard. Hope you're doing well today. Use their turn as more time to think about how you'll win. That's a good point. And it's actually a good idea. You can use your opponent's turn to think about what you need to do. Love the vids, mate. Mark, thank you. Absolutely appreciate that. We got a little live stream going today. I don't know. I don't do this very much. For me, it's hard to find... Like, I feel like if you're going to live stream, you got to have like 2-3 uninterrupted hours. Druid again here. I think this is the same guy, right? I just played this guy. We want imp stuff. But I feel like if you don't have 2, 3, 4 uninterrupted hours bare minimum, it's not even worth it to go live. Look at this start, by the way. If this is the same guy and he's playing ramp Druid, he's playing aggro now. But look at this. We've got the double Librarian start. Double Librarian into Flame Imp Wicked Shipment. So the best possible hand they could have would be, what's it called? Thorn Growth Sentries. They get 2 1/2s, and then on turn 3, they would have the active Herald. Yeah, so we're fine here. I think we're fine. We're a little bit low on cards. And we're never making this trade. We're going to force our opponent to make the trade. They may even try to value trade here. We got the location next turn. We could remove a high priority target. I guess that's the reason why it would have been best to make that trade. That was unfortunate. That was really unfortunate. We're low on cards now, too. I'd have to look back at that to see if that was actually a misplay. I was not expecting the Druid of the Reef. I feel like I underthink this matchup because that deck is just pretty brain dead. We're going to go ahead and take the value trade here, though. If we force him to hero power, that's a win. Keeping minions off the board is a win. That's going to be the 1 attack buff and the 2/2. That is unfortunate. We have to tap here. Nothing playable. I mean, this is going to be good if we can actually get it to stick to the board. There's also a possibility that this is actually Lady Prester Druid. It's 40 cards. It has to be Lady Prester Druid. I should have picked up on that earlier. And they've drawn Lady Prester, so this is going to get really interesting because it's going to come down to whether or not our opponent high rolls the dragons. They just drew the Lady Prester. They're playing it now. Yep. I guess there's nothing that would have really changed what we would do here. And our draws are really bad. Catastrophe? I don't even think we want to... I mean, just drawing 2 cards isn't worth it. We drag below. Next turn we've got drag below twice. This game isn't looking good. I'd actually consider playing this deck myself. I've got a deck made in my collection. I mean, if that 6 goes face, that's huge, so I have to trade here? It feels so bad, but... I think it's correct. So this is going to be... This is going to be a very tough win. We actually had a really good start, but because of the low curve of Prester Druid, our opponent was able to answer everything that we had. Prester Druid still viable? I'm not sure. I saw on Twitter... That's unfortunate. I saw on Twitter there was somebody playing on like top 100 Legend with it. They were playing the new Druid card. I think it's Attorney at Maul, the 2 mana, choose one, either silence or make a minion immune. We're going to clear his board and give him another. He can't hold another curse. He's going to overdraw. But I think we still just clear the board here. Right or no? If we clear the board... The curse counter goes up, they just don't take damage because they can't hold the card. Maybe it's better to just hold the 0 mana because we're going to have more stuff that we need to remove, most likely. Highly unlikely that this actually sticks, though. So I don't think we ever get any more value out of the Tamsin Roam, but there could be value in having a 0 mana deal 4. See, I'm not sure... You know, again, one person has had success. Oh, they stole our brand. Second Caligos. I hate it when Lady Prester Druid is good because of the high roll potential. Bible is a spectrum, depends on your goals and how you have fun. That's true. Anytime somebody asks me if a deck is viable, I assume, maybe incorrectly, that they're talking about whether or not a deck is good enough to be able to gain ranks with. I think for most people, I know there's some people that play just to... Interesting. I know there's some people that play just to have fun, but I think for a lot of people... Well, that's unfortunate. Sorry, I'm having trouble completing a thought. I think a lot of people play to gain ranks. So we just have to Abyssal Wave here and take an additional 3. We also have to hope that they don't hit like Lifebinder Alexstrasza to be able to heal up, and we're still likely going to be struggling. We're still likely going to be struggling to find enough curse damage to be able to kill him. I mean, we have the potential to be able to draw some cards, which we're going to have to do. Lady Darkvein would just be like a premium top deck here. We'd be able to put 3 curses in hand, assuming they could hold him. Yeah, talking about the competitive aspect. Yeah, I have no idea. It looks like we're going to lose this game, though, but the dragon pool is diluted a little bit because there have been some new dragons that have been added that aren't as good. You know, it kind of waters down the dragon pool. But you can see our opponent here, they definitely hit high impact dragons. So they got the Kazakhstan. The game's probably over. I'm assuming we just lose from this point. They also hit double Caligos. Depends on your play rate. 51% deck can hit legend. And perform at top 100 depending on the meta. But is it viable if you can only play 200 games a season? If you're only playing 200 games a season, I would say absolutely not. Because the issue is, like, a 52% win rate is going 15 and 14. And you've only won one more game than you've lost, so you're basically not climbing at all. We're going to have to draw cards here. This draws us 3. And again, I think we're probably just dead to the... Well, we actually hit the Lady Darkvein. But the problem here is that we just overwrote our Abyssal Wave with a Impending Catastrophe because it's a shadow spell. We got the Grim Sack, though. So we're going to do this. And I guess we just have to tap. I mean, we need more resources. There's not a whole lot of difference between 13 and 11. There's an Abyssal Wave. I guess we're just dead to Embers of Ragnaros, and they have at least 2 draws at it. Puts a curse in hand. Or... yeah, we're just dead. Unfortunate. Hey, TVS. Nice to see you. You came just in time to see us lose to Lady Prester Druid. I think it's been a couple of months since I lost to a Lady Prester Druid. Really wasn't expecting that. I thought people would be playing a lot of Hunter still. Only placed 1 Hunter today. I gotta let Matty Dog back in. I will be right back. So they had... That has to be an above-average game for our opponent, right? They had an early Kazakhstan, they had double Caligos, and they had double Murazond. That has to be above average. If they didn't have Kazakhstan... I think we maybe actually win that game. Paladin. We definitely want to keep our imp stuff. Are we keeping the location is the question. This Vile Library is such a borderline keep in this deck. I mean, we do have stuff to do. It also could be a rogue, because it looks like they don't have the golden outline. I'm not keeping it. It's so borderline. If we had like a Fiendish Circle in hand, or maybe even a Wicked Shipment, I would probably keep it, but other than that, I'm not keeping it. So now the question is 1 extra attack more valuable than 1 extra health? What's our opponent going to do turn 1? They kept 3 cards. If it's a rogue, they're going to trade. I guess there's more upside to Librarian if we top deck a Wicked Shipment here. That was the last drink of our coffee. That's unfortunate. So we are actually facing a Paladin. I'm not super familiar with Paladin decks and what's exactly being played. Could just go Flame Imp and remove the 2/2 and push face. Could follow up with a Vile Library next turn. Could just play Flame Imp and trade. And hang on to the touch. I think hanging on to the touch is better in this situation. We're going to take a rare trade here. I feel like Paladin can run out of cards, though. We have to assume that they're going to be playing Cariel on turn 8, so we're going to want to do a lot of damage prior to that. Draw 2 cards. Drawing cards feels pretty good in this situation, I think. It's only 2 cards, but it's still 2 cards, if you know what I mean. 2 feels like a low number to draw with this deck, but 2 actually isn't that bad. Problem here is if we take the trade, then our entire board dies to city tax, but I think it's worth it. I'm going to be a little bit greedy with the touch of Nathrezim here. Wow, our hand is so heavy. And we can just play the location and tap. Take a trade here. It's unfortunate. But it feels like the best we've got. Other option would be to just use the touch here. Boom, touch. Play the Flame Imp. And then next turn we may actually just have to tempo Zakul. Likely into Tamsin on 6, so I think we want to get cards out of our hands since it looks like we're going to Tamsin on 6, so we're just going to make this play. One thing that crossed my mind, it didn't really make a difference in this game, but if I had been at 30 health, I would have wanted to play the Flame Imp first to actually get the healing, but because I wasn't at 30, I got the healing off of the touch of the Nathrezim anyway. But I thought to check it at least, so I guess it's worth mentioning. Looks like it's going to be Maddie Dog nap time now. Sometimes I'm jealous of my dog. She sleeps so much. So with that top deck, this feels like a pretty obvious just Fiendish Circle location play and push a bunch of damage into our opponent's face. We're going to force them to make the trade. In a lot of worlds, we're going to clear our own board next turn, but we would also have an infused Rafam potentially. So that's the way we're going to play it. And we're going to put all damage face. Our opponent is under the gun here to be able to remove the board. City Tax is a really strong play for him here just because it's going to remove a lot and it's going to heal. But again, we've got another board just waiting next turn if they're able to significantly clear the board. I like to get our opponent's health total low because, again, I'm assuming, unless they have a really bad draw, they're going to be able to play Cariel on turn 8. They've either drawn it, or kept it, or they're going to have the Order in the Court card that's going to allow them to top deck it.
My client has the heart of a hero.
Pretty good play for him. But again, I mean, we're going to be able to make a couple of trades, buff our board, and get the Rafam in play for another full board. It's feeling pretty good. We'll be able to make one trade and buff. Actually, we just Grim Sack, right? We don't have enough mana. Don't think he can play Cariel on this deck. It's possible. I'm not sure. I don't know Paladin decks. I would assume if you're playing Paladin, you have to be playing Cariel. So I guess we actually take 2 trades here, right? Because this is 5 minions. So in order to have room on the board, we're going to have to trade twice. Other option here would be take this trade and then just get Tamsin down. Is that stronger? Probably not, right? Because how do they remove our board? We're just going to go in on the board. If our board somehow gets removed, then we can Tamsin next turn. And we're just going face again here. There's no way we're going to die. We don't need to take a value trade. It's up to our opponent to be able to remove our board. And again, if they do, we're just going to draw cards and then probably look to focus on the curses to be able to finish them off with this deck. Yeah, that's a good point, Lala. I guess I could... So one of the things that I don't do it, but I probably should, is if you're playing a class you're not familiar with, like Paladin, you can always hop over to a website like hsreplay.net, try to find out what the popular decks are, and get a good idea. So this looks like a good play from our opponents. It's probably the best that they can do, but the Grim Sacrifice is going to allow us to win here. We're just going to go ahead and finish them off. No reason to drag it out, rope lethal, and all that other garbage. I'm not going to waste my life trying to BM somebody in a children's card game. Paladin, still not a good deck. The other problem that Paladin has is even if it was the strongest deck in the format, it's just boring. Because all you're doing is playing minions on the board and hoping that those minions have big stats. It's not compelling gameplay. I mean, I guess it is for some people, everybody's different, but I would like something a little bit more exciting. And something that can challenge your skill level. Like Garrote Rogue or, you know, classic Miracle Rogue. Things like that, to me, are more fun. Even though they're harder. I guess the difficulty is what makes it more fun. So we're going to keep the location this time because of the library. The problem here is we're against Warlock, so if they have like Librarian on 1, and we have no turn 1 play, we could potentially be in trouble early. I think these are still a keep, though. We're just going to hope that we hit a 1-drop here. We actually hit the Librarian, so we've got 1, maybe even Coin Circle on 2. Grimsack. So we still just play this out, right? He trades for it, but it's better than 3 damage going face. Then we can play this on 2, and then on turn 3 we've got this and buff and a Grim Sacrifice to be able to clear their board. And there's no way they can just ignore this. Here's the trade. File library of their own. So if they have the Fiendish Circle here, this gets buffed up to a level where we can't kill it, but we'll be able to remove all of their 1/1s. And they actually don't have the Circle. Wicked Shipment. Is it worth it to Grim Sacrifice here? Just to get rid of the 3/1? I don't think so. It's possible they're even going to want to trade. And I want to hold the Grim Sacrifice in case they have... Because they didn't use the location next turn, that makes me think they're going to have a Wicked Shipment or a Fiendish Circle. So if they put a bunch of 1/1s on the board, I want the Grim Sacrifice to be able to remove it. And then we see that's what happens here. So we've got like second location, Wicked Shipment, and Grim Sack. That is a big minion though. We can't get punched by that too many times. Second location. Gonna buff this guy. I'm going to Grim Sack over here.
Thank you for your service.
And I think, do we have to remove this? We just have to remove it, right? It's unfortunate, but we can't take that 8 damage. So we've got an infused Mischievous Imp. Our health is just too important. I mean, once we take that much damage, then it's going to limit our ability to be able to hero tap looking for answers. There's a Zakul. It's not great, but again, we have to deal with the Zakul here. So we're definitely playing this and buffing. And then probably just the Flustered Librarian. Again, we have to trade here because we just can't afford to take that much damage. We're going to take 2 more. But we kind of have board here. If they have Cariel, they clear our entire board and we likely just lose. Not Cariel, but Dreadlich Tamsin. They don't have it. They also don't have Rafam, so we're in a decent spot here. We're going to get another big buff off of Vile Library. We can even put a curse in their hand. And we're likely probably going to have to play this curse now. We can't afford to just keep taking this damage. Another circle. Probably going to have to make some trades here anyway. So we're just going to do it. Yeah, we're going to buff our minion with the biggest potential here. And then we're going to have to take this trade, and we're going to have to get rid of that. And I actually missed 1 damage because I was playing too fast. This should have hit for 11 and it only hit for 10, so that's a misplay on my part. Abyssal Wave. So again, we're going to have to play this out of our hand. And we're just going to hope that they don't have the cards to be able to kill us here. We're at 6. Next curse, we take 5. So if they're able to hit us with 2 curses, we die here. They only have 3 cards in hand, though. Unfortunate. All comes down to whether or not they can curse us. What a game. They're still digging. So what do we even need?
Thank you for your service. Thank you for your service.
There's nothing that allows us to win this game, right? Like, we're just dead. Probably should concede here. I'm really wasting my own time. If by some miracle they don't have a curse and we top deck a curse, we can still win. Our opponent choosing to go the route of BM here. They don't value their own life or their own time, so they're going to waste as much time as possible instead of just ending the game on the spot. I wish I could say I respect it, but I don't. It's one thing if you don't care about your own time and wasting time, but wasting other people's time, I have no respect for that whatsoever. It's like another Paladin. This is a different guy, though. I feel like they had similar names. Again, we're just looking to keep our imp stuff here, so we're going to keep the shipment and the circle. Hopefully we can hit something like a librarian or a location. Apologies for the water bottle crackling. I feel like I drink so much while I'm playing
More spice over here.
Hearthstone. Maybe it's because I'm talking a lot. Let's just get our imps in there. It's like we're playing against Dude Paladin. But they're playing the 1/1s. We probably have to trade here because of jury duty. If they play jury duty, they summon 2 1/1s, and these become 2/2s, but I've got a Grim Sacrifice in hand. What if we just went coin, Fiendish Circle? Then next turn we would have, like, tap Grim Sacrifice? Or would we rather save the coin to smooth out our curve? I think it's fine. We'll do this, and we'll go ahead and take our 1 damage face here. If they're going to trade for the imps, we're going to let them do it. Like I say, we've got the Grim Sacrifice. Could potentially top deck Impending Catastrophe here. Be able to draw cards. Buff Dude's Paladin getting popular in the ladder. Yeah, so they just played Order in the Court. So if they're not playing Cariel, that means they just drew... Oh, and we actually hit it. Nice. That would mean they just drew a Light Ray, so they're going to have some free 5/5s coming down. Finally, some live content. Yeah, man, we live today. Let's draw some cards. We hit the location as well, and we've got this for turn 4, so we're going to Librarian. We are going to take the trade this time because we want to protect our Librarian. And then next turn it's likely just Mischievous Imp, which we may actually want to infuse with 2 minions into a library play the following turn. Alright, our opponent's AFK. So yeah, we're just going to go wide with imps. We've got the location for the next turn. Take as much damage as we can. I'm assuming this deck has no reach whatsoever, which means as long as we can keep the board clear, we never die. So we can even use our board to fight off whatever they have, and then, you know, win with our curse package later in the game if we have to. They pop up on 8 with Countess on 7. May not be good enough. We're 1 turn off from Tamsin dragged below. I think we want to save our Grim Sacrifice, because next turn we can Abyssal Wave, which is going to pack in Abyssal Wave into this with the Grim Sack. It's not going to matter how big their board is. We would still be able to remove it. So we could use this turn, and that would be fine. So we go location and drag below, and just trade to remove the board. Is there a better option? I don't think so. I probably want to hold the 7/7 and trade these guys, right? Keep the 7/7 on the board. And that's going to buff. I don't care. So next turn, Abyssal Wave into turn 7 is going to be Dark Vein, Grim Sack, and we should be able to remove whatever board they're going to have the next couple of turns. I think we just do it anyway, because the Abyssal Wave is going to be 2, so they're going to take 9, and then the following turn we're going to be able to put 3 and 4 in their hand, so it doesn't even matter that we clear our own board here. They're not going to have enough damage to be able to kill us. This just sets up lethal. Even if they play Cariel, they're still one turn off. So the play looks a little bit weird, but it's just like a guaranteed lethal for next turn. So I know it's correct, and it still doesn't feel right because I just played an AoE that removed my board and left my opponent's board. But we still just win. So we go Dark Bane, and then we're going to Grim Sack. And that's going to end the game. I've kind of wondered sometimes if Hearthstone, like, the game is over, they take lethal damage. What if they changed Hearthstone so that when the game was over like this, that it just didn't play the animations? Does that take away from the Hearthstone experience? Or does it make the game better, like a quality of life change? I guess the argument against it is that you need to see how you died, rather than just your opponent killed you. I don't know. But I mean, for the player side, we know the game is over, but we still have to watch the animations. And we know how they died. But for the opponent, I guess if you don't see the animations and the cards being played, you don't know exactly what happened. Have an option to skip animations for both sides. I would assume they never do that, simply because you have some of those APM decks where being able to play cards very, very quickly is an advantage. So like a recent example of that would be the Dark Rogue, where you're having to play all the coins. The animations slow that deck down. This is actually a full keep. I'm going to keep the Mischievous because it's going to be infused on turn 4. Against another Druid. I have no idea what Druid's playing now. I've seen Ramp, I've seen Aggro, and I've also seen Lady Prester. This is 40 cards. We want the most damage on the board. It's 40 cards, so it's either Prester Druid or it is Ramp Druid. Maybe once you hit end turn? Maybe. I'm going to remove this with the touch to try to protect this minion. They just played Planted Evidence, but the most recent Lady Prester list that I saw actually has Planted Evidence in it, so we still don't know exactly what our opponent is playing. Turn 3, we likely just tempo out the Cultist. Put another body on the board, get a curse in hand. Alright, pretty weak from them, but we still don't know exactly what we're playing against. We know they didn't have Wild Growth, so we're happy about that. We're unhappy that we're so low on cards, though. If it is Lady Prester Druid, we need to get as much damage in as we can early, I guess. Although realistically, that's the goal every game, right? Get that damage in. Okay, so now we know we're playing against Ramp Druid, which is fine. This is never going to be infused, so I think we just play it. And we're going to take a value trade here, I guess. Prevents our opponent from taking a value trade. Where we're going to lose this is, yeah, if they have this into Scale of Onyxia is where we're going to lose, because we're just so low on resources. Impending Catastrophe? Negative. Tempo the Cultist? So if they have Scale, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If they have Scale, they have a full clear. Tap and tempo this out. Play the Librarian and hope they don't have Scale. When do they never not have Scale? Have you ever been in a situation where the Druid doesn't have Scale on, well, it's not even turn 7, but on 7 mana they always have it, right? Even though they've only drawn 10 cards. This has more value later with the Brand, though. It's pretty likely this game that we just don't beat Scale of Onyxia. And this play puts more power on the board, so if they don't have Scale, this gives us the best possible chance of winning. So basically, we can't beat Scale of Onyxia, so we're just going to pretend like it doesn't exist. If they have it, we're going to lose no matter what we do, most likely. If they don't have it, this is our best possible play. So this play leads to a higher overall win rate, even if we lose this game specifically, if that makes sense. And again, they always have the scale. We do still have a 3-3 though, so we got that going for us. They don't have second scale, right? They never have second scale. If they can't remove the brand, that's going to be really good for us. So they have 5 damage in hand. Even if they remove the brand, they take 5. They have an infused devourer, so they are still taking 5. Wow. This makes them take 9. They're going to have to spend 2 mana getting that curse out of their hand. But they likely just have an Earthen Scales to be able to gain health. So interesting. Even in games where they don't draw that many cards, they always have answers exactly when they need them. Now they're looking for an Earthen Scale. So our outs are going to be a curse or a way to be able to kill one of these 2/1s. We just have to Tamsin here. I don't like it. If we tap and we hit exactly one of these 3 cards, we would have lethal. 3 out of 17. It's not the play, right? That's never the play. 3 out of 17. It's the chance that we win if we play this. Has to be better. Also be able to draw an additional card here. Hopefully we hit some 3/3s, but as soon as they draw an Earthen Scales and they're able to heal up, the game gets a lot harder. Our opponent just emoted us. That feels like we're dead. So now the question is, do you take the 3 out of 17? We would have lost anyway, though. 3 out of 17 just isn't a high enough chance to try to hit that lethal out. And that's crazy. Scale of Onyxia into Infused Devourer into Infused Denathrius for lethal. Anybody have any opinions on that? Do you take the 3 out of 17? We would have lost that game because we got to see the card that we would have drawn with the tap. We're not going to keep... We have the Circle, which infuses the Mischievous Imp. So we're going to keep the Imp this game. This isn't always a keep. This is a conditional keep, I think. All you had to do was get a curse in his hand to do the 2 damage. That's right. So if we had top decked any kind of curse, we would have been able to kill him. We had the Lady Darkvein in hand, and we had 8 mana. And the Lady Darkvein had Dragged Below in it. So we play the Lady Darkvein and we get the 2/1s with the Death Rattle, play a Dragged Below. So if we had drawn either exactly one of the Grim Sacrifices or there was 1 touch of the Nathrazim, then we would have been able to kill a 2-1 and put a curse in his hands, because the drag below would have hit one of the minions on the board. So the problem was we didn't draw a curse, and we didn't have any way to be able to kill one of the 2-1s. So if we tap, we would have had 6 mana to play the Dark Vein, and the 1 mana remove one of the 2-1s to put a curse in his hand. So that's where I get the 3 out of 17. We had 17 cards in hand, we could have tapped once. So the question is, do you take the 3 out of 17, or do you play the Tamsin like I did? What gives you the highest chance of winning? This is a tough spot. We play this and they just full trade for everything? That doesn't feel very good. But it infuses our Mischievous Imp, so we just do it. This'll Waivers are cool, would have done that too. Yeah, that's true. So if we tapped, it was 5 out of 17, so then maybe tap is correct there. We're off to a slow start this game, and our opponent is not. So they can actually freeze one of these, value trade one. We're going to have an infused Rafam, and it almost doesn't matter. I feel like our opponent could even just keep pushing face. Wasn't paying close enough attention to read how likely he was to have lethal. Hindsight 2020. Yeah, hindsight is 2020, but thinking about games like that, I think is how you get better at Hearthstone. That's why you have to play, you know, certain decks. Yeah, we just, we're gonna have to coin the Abyssal Wave here, but we're still really low. What did they take with the Theatar? They took Lady Darkvein. Pretty good pickup for him. They still have 3 damage on board. The Infused Rafam doesn't even matter this game. Our start was too slow. And their start was too fast. 40 card mage, and they've had cards every single turn or plays. So, Grim Sacrifice means our opponent can't kill us, but we're so low we're likely going to lose this game anyway. So we can do this. Librarian. Go ahead and get the buff, and then we'll Grim Sacrifice here. Infused Rafam, that it really just doesn't matter. We're dead this game. Thinking about games like that is how you get better at life.
You wish to match wits with me.
Yeah, we're just dead.
Stay where you are.
Vile Library. Well, even if we can extend the game by 1 more turn, we're still just dead. Imp Warlock not doing too well today. Was really expecting to see more hunters. Does that mean we just become the villain and play hunter ourselves? Oh my gosh. Hunter is so boring. I mean, even this deck, it's not super engaging, but it's better than Hunter. Man, you play Beast Hunter, and it's like, do I have a 1-drop on turn 1? Okay, I'll play that. Do I have a 2-drop on turn 2? Okay, I'll play that. And then you just find out whether or not Hearthstone gives you the win.
Stormwind will tremble before Tamsin Row.
This is a good matchup, though. There's an argument that we actually just coined the location on 1 into this buff on turn 2. Switch Hunter and you'll queue into 6 Imp blocks in a row. So I'm not the only one that happens to. Look at this. It's Aggro Demon Hunter. Probably the Fell version, right? I haven't seen this in a while. So we're gonna make this play.
My blood boils for war.
Pretty sure Demon Hunter is favored in this matchup as well. It's just a lot of unfavored matchups here. The buff goes on this guy, right? He goes hero power, swing here, that's an honor kill. We get it to 5 health. If he has exactly Fury and Chaos Strike, he can honor kill it. 4 cards in hand. Does he have Fury and Chaos Strike? Also of note here, if we keep our hand like low on cards, when they play their 4-drop that draws up to 5 cards, we can actually get some card draw off of that ourselves. Satheno, does he have a Predation? He has the Predation. Man, what a monster. We may have just already lost this game. Look, Satheno on the board. We have no way of removing it. We're having hope we just top deck dragged below. We just get farmed by the Satheno here. Flame Imp is not the draw. We have to play it anyway just to absorb damage. Flame Imp and Tempo Bran. Doesn't feel good, but it's all we can really do. I think we actually take the buff here as well. Buff this to 3. I think so. Bran Imp to assert dominance. Yeah, we're not asserting anything. Again, this is another game where I think we're just dead. We're just going through the motions here. Unable to answer Lady Satheno. And they're refilling their hand. We're just getting out of the game. It's a waste of time. So Imp Warlock not good today. People have rotated off of Hunter. What have we seen? We've seen a lot of Druid. We've seen... See, let me change this to today.
Gul'dan versus Nemzi.
Let's have some fun.
Your soul.
Druid, Mage, and Paladin. I think we're not keeping the Mischievous Imp here. Circle is definitely a keep, but we can't justify keeping a 3 and a 4 in what we assume is going to be a mirror match, because if they take the board early and we're not able to do anything, then we're in trouble. We really want to be the ones with the aggressive start, with like Librarian or Flame Imp at least. So we're going to toss those other ones. And we hit the Librarian, so that's good. And second circle, and we end up drawing the Mischievous Imp, so that worked out pretty well for us. We got a nice Imp start here, but the mirror is a little bit weird. Grim Sacrifice is so strong because you can remove the 1/1s. We actually can't contest that. We have to tap. So they get a good value trade here, and they're going to continue to develop their board. Location? Oh. Drawing cards is really good too. They're in a great spot. We have to get out on the board here, but again, Grim Sacrifice just clears our board, allows them to potentially develop and push damage face. On the plus side, we're going to have an infused Mischievous Imp next turn. Would have scooped to the Sitheno clear, but respect you for playing it out. Nah, I goofed, man. I shouldn't have played that. Rafam is a good pickup for turn 5. I think we just play this and we're going to have to take a trade.
A little fire never hurt nobody.
So turn 5, we've got Circle and Vile Library. Into turn 6, Infused Imp King Rafam. Our opponent also kept a card, though, and they've had this card the whole time. So pretty likely they have their own Rafam or a Tamsin. Double location. Oh, they're not playing the curse package at all. They're just playing straight aggro. So, we take a value trade, right? We take this trade right here. We're still pretty healthy, so Shady Bartender isn't going to end the game, and then we can trade if we have to be able to infuse the Rafam, so we should end up with just a really nice board next turn. And they're not going to have a way to be able to remove it. I think we're okay here. Honestly, I don't think there's anything we could top deck that's going to be better than Imp King Rafam. I think we're already locked into this on turn 6. Our opponent's drawn a lot of cards. We make one trade and then we can buff our board. The question is, do we want to get rid of these guys? I think we do. We need to get rid of the imps that he has on board because he's got double location. And then also potentially we could hit 3/3s coming back off of this instead of the 1/1 tokens. Not likely, but it gives us the board space, right? Or do we just buff these into 3/3s and trade? Probably just buff these into 3/3s and trade, right? We're overthinking things a little bit. We definitely trade, though, because of the locations. Next turn, we're going to be able to draw a bunch of cards. Pretty sure we just win this. This version may run Gigafin on 8. But we could potentially even remove the Gigafin if we hit dragged below. And we're going to be drawing cards next turn, even if they can clear up some of this stuff. Grim Sacrifice. Okay. Abyssal Wave would also clear the Gigafin. They just made a very big lifesteal minion here. And at this point we can't even clear it. We can with this. Let's see, 4 mana. Or spend a mana to draw an extra card. So we hit our own Grim Sack, we hit an additional Catastrophe. We can draw another 4. Grim Sacrifice. Get here. Touch. Yeah, we're going to take the trade here. We just lose by taking too much damage. Our opponent is running out of stuff. And we have cards in hand now. We have the Abyssal Wave. I think we're fine. Yeah, even with the Bartender buff, I mean, all of this stuff still just dies to the Abyssal Wave. Plus we have Lady Darkvein in hand. Are we taking 6 damage? I don't think we're taking 6 damage here. The issue is we don't have a way to be able to clear this. We have 1 sack and 1 touch left. Just gonna tap. There's a touch. So now we have an additional clear with the Lady Darkvein. Plus we still have the Tamsin in hand. How many more boards does our opponent have? They potentially still have Rafam. These being on the board is good for us, because it's going to force our opponent to take damage. So if we go... We can put 3 curses in our opponent's hand. That would still leave us, let's see, they would have 7. Second Bartender would put them at 13, so they can't kill us. Is that right? But we're also going to overwrite our clear with this. I think it's fine. Drag below here. We're going to drag below here. Shady Bartender. I'm just going to remove it. I'm roping out here. I was trying to think, is there any other way that our opponent would be able to possibly have extra damage to kill us? I couldn't think of anything, but I started roping. And Bartender puts us to 1, so any additional damage would kill us here. Brand Darkvein. So the concern for me would be, if we do like a Brand Darkvein play, we clear the board, but then if they have an Imp King Rafam, we just die to the next board. So by still having the Lady Darkvein in hand, if we, or win, because we don't have very many cards left in our deck, the next Abyssal Wave, we can put Abyssal Wave back in it. Right now it's a pretty worthless... That is unfortunate. Abyssal Wave and Tamsin hiding from us. So if we go Brand Zakul, it's actually quite a bit of healing. We heal for 11. Plus it buys us a turn. Plus they're taking damage every time these attack, which are good. But we can afford a tap here. Cultist. So we'll be able to put 6 and 7 in hand. 6 and 7. They're going to take 4 if they attack with these. They also have to remove our board. We're not dying here, so they're going to have to kill the Zakul. And then we have, next turn, we have 2 draws for either Abyssal Wave or Dreadlich Tamsin if we have to tap. So I think we're okay here. Our opponent's roping. What does that mean? Rage quit? We know they're not roping lethal. Looks like a rage quit. Oh, they're doing stuff. Giga Finn play 1 curse, so we just kill him. And look, they couldn't even attack with these. It doesn't matter, though, because they still have the curse in hand. So they rope the Giga Finn. Oh, man, that game felt like a struggle. But we got there. We also got a nice little stack of gold. Collect a nice bag for our trouble. Alright, that's 1 bottle of water gone. I came equipped with 3 bottles. Man, anytime I live stream, I think to myself, I have no idea how people can stream for like 8, 12 hours, or even more. Like, you have to build up to it physically, I think. Or maybe actively try to talk less. We're going to keep the Flame Imp. I think Shaman's a good matchup for this deck as well. They have the high roll potential of evolving a Knoll is the problem. Like, if they evolve Deathwing, the 12-12, because they're already on the coin, so if they have Schooling, Muck Pools, and the Knoll, we could just potentially lose very quickly this game. Get in there, Flame Imp. But without shenanigans like that, I mean, we've got the Abyssal Wave to clear the wide Murloc board. There's the Schooling. And they also kept... That wouldn't make sense to coin 1 out. And we just have to play this, but it looks like our board is getting cleared here. Unless they have Muck Pools and Knoll. But if they have like the Knoll and Muck Pools, they trade here, they evolve, and if it's like a 12-12, we just lose on the spot. It's like one of the biggest high rolls in the game. Many streamers seem to use significantly less brain power than you do. I think, honestly, they're probably thinking as much or more than I am. They're just not saying it out loud. So I'm actually happy to see the Schooling come out of their hand. Don't even play Hearthstone anymore, but like watching you. You have a nice chill vibe. Good luck on your climb. Thanks, Spartan. Spartan, it's pretty interesting for me. I don't even remember exactly what game it is that you make content for on YouTube. I can't think of the name of it. It's not something that I play, but since you subscribe to the channel, I can see like recent subscribers, and I've looked at your subscriber count, and you've been killing it, man. Like, I don't know exactly when it was you subscribed to my channel, but I think you're up like 1,000 or more subscribers. Probably within like the last month or two, so keep doing what you're doing, man, because it's working. We just need cards. Yeah, get in there. Like to see you play in this deck. Got unlucky with it due to inexperience. Hope to get better. Have a good stream. Yasher, thank you. Hopefully I said your name right. If I ever mispronounce somebody's name that's in the chat, I apologize, and feel free to correct me. I definitely want to get your name right, but unfortunately sometimes I can't. There's no reason to play this now when we're going to be able to Abyssal Wave next turn. Could even wait one additional turn just to get the third one. The problem is the Primordial Wave. They could buff all these to something that has an amount of health that's more than 4, but there's a lot of 5-drops that have 4 health, right? Just going to tap and see what we hit. We hit Tamsin. That's pretty good. Just go face here. And we'll go ahead and touch this guy. And pass it back to our opponent. So Tamsin is going to give us the ability to put curses in our opponent's hand. That's good. We have the Abyssal Wave to be able to clear some stuff if we need to. We don't want to let their board get too wide, because if it goes really wide and then they Primordial Wave, it's really bad for us. Especially with these guys, I think we probably just play it. The other issue is Mutinous. When they play Mutinous, they're going to eat one of our premium minions. If I'm not doing a whole lot here, we're not going to think about this a whole lot. There's no way we can afford to take that much damage. That would be a guaranteed way to lose, but again, it's like we're kind of struggling. We didn't hit the Impending Catastrophes this game, so we haven't been able to draw a lot of cards. There's no Tamsin in sight, and so we're just trying to do the best we can with whatever we top deck. And our opponent's attempting to go wide here. So, do we ever just tempo Reform? We get back possibly a Flame Imp, but then a bunch of 1/1s, and then we get the 6/6 on the board. It probably buys us a turn, right? We force our opponent to have to deal with the board. They could just evolve. But the other play that we would be making would be like Tamsin, couple of Drag Belows, and then maybe Grim Sack on the Tamsin. I feel like we hold this for a little bit more value. And Reform is just going to sit in our hand and never be infused at this point anyway. Could actually just Grim Sack now to remove a couple of these guys. Any cards in the deck? I'm going to do it. I'm really concerned about the Primordial Wave. If they develop a board and then make it into something that we can't remove, we're just going to die on the spot. But we really need to be tapping. We need access to the rest of our deck to be able to win this for sure. Subscribed to you 4 months ago, almost 7K subs in 8 months, which is unreal. Your strategy is always aimed for searchable content. Search is our best bet to grow as small channels. Well, congratulations, man. Whatever you're doing, it's absolutely working. I looked at your channel, and again, I'm sorry, I don't remember, what game it is you're making content for, but I watched one of your videos, and I thought to myself, if I was playing this, this is something I'd be interested in. Reign of Kings. Pretty sure I remember. Takes me a while. I'm not as young as I used to be. Good morning, Emmanuel. Hope you're doing well today. The 6/6 actually sticks here. So now we tap. You can even tap, put 2 curses in hand and cause an overdraw. We're going to hold the Abyssal Wave. I really hope Mutinous doesn't eat our Bran or our Cultist, but unfortunately it looks like that may be potentially what's going to happen. So we're going to get rid of this guy. I think I'm actually going to hold this and just take a trade here. We don't need this damage going face. We're going to be able to kill our opponent with curse damage. We might be able to protect the Tamsin for a turn. First deals 2. Man, I always hate it when I see my opponent reaching for their top deck. He burns a card if you use it now. That's true. I think generally speaking, look at that off the top. Unfortunate. That's true. But in a lot of cases, burning a card doesn't have that much value. Like one individual card. Like, it almost looks like it would have been good here because they would have burned the command of Neptulon. But they may have had another way to be able to deal with the board over here somewhere. I think in a lot of cases, burning an opponent's card may actually just be an overrated play. Impending catastrophe, but we have no imps. So let's see if we can find an imp. We find one imp and we have to take damage in order to do it, but we just need more cards. This deck doesn't have a whole lot of burst from hand either, I don't think. Hopefully they don't hit Brucon. Brimsack and Zakul. So we're just going to remove some stuff. They're going to burn a card this time, but I didn't really necessarily do it on purpose. This was just the best play to make in my opinion. But there's no way I'm going to tempo out the Bran. We could tempo the Cultist. It would, again, increase the curse counter, but they don't actually have room in their hand to hold the curse, and I think we might actually need that damage. Also, if our opponent gets afraid of their life total, they may actually start having to play curses out of their hands, which means they're spending mana on that every single turn. Agree, just pointing it out? Yeah. Especially in 40-card decks. Like, 40-card decks play so many bad cards, the chance that you burn something good is significantly lower. But I think for a lot of people, you look at it and you say, wow, remember that one time I burned Denathrius or Theotar or, you know, whatever card they really don't like. And then they go out of their way to make that play every time when it may not actually be the best play. Yeah, this isn't bad at all. And we can even just, like, brand Zakul here. Our opponent feels like they're trying to keep their hand as full as possible to limit the amount of spaces for curses. One of the really strong plays you can make with this deck is brand Cultist. But it's unlikely that they're ever going to be able to hold 4 cards just based on the way that they're playing. And we'll be able to heal for 9. But again, I just want to get deeper in the deck. Another Catastrophe? I mean, if I played Bran Zakul, they're going to have to try to remove those minions from the board. Or evolve those minions. Maybe try to draw next turn. If they remove the entire board, this is infused. Just going to go ahead and cash it in. Burning cards is the lottery, irresistible to many folks. Thanks a lot for your kind words. Think you will eventually get what you deserve. A lot of effort and explaining in your videos provided great value to me when I was still playing Hearthstone. Spartan, thank you. I definitely appreciate your kind words as well. One of the things that's been pretty crazy about me for YouTube, I've done it like casually. You know, I'm not super invested in it. But I've had days where I have a full-time job. I work, you know, at least 40 hours a week. I've had some really hard days at work. And there's been days where, like, it's just been tough. You know, a job that's killing my body, it's killing my mind, killing my spirit. And I've had, like, some really hard days. And there's been days where, you know, it's a bad day. Mentally, I'm, like, pushed to the max. And, you know, I go to lunch and I think, man, I'm just looking for some good news. And I would check, like, my YouTube analytics, and I would see I got another subscriber. Or I would see maybe somebody left a nice comment, or even a video. Like, way back when I first started. I feel like I've grown slow. I don't know about other people's journey, but, you know, you get a video and you're like, wow, that's, like, the best views I've had in a while, you know, compared to other videos that I make. And even, like, just the smallest thing, you know, I would go to lunch, I would eat, and I would see that, and I'd be like, man, I've got my good news for the day now. I'm ready to go back and finish out the day. It really goes a long way. I think people really underestimate the smallest amount of kindness and what you can do for somebody else. So, thank you. If you're watching, if you've ever done any of that for me, likes, subscribes, you know, nice comments, even just watching a video, I've definitely noticed, and may have impacted me pretty significantly on certain days. I think we just stuff another curse in their hand. We could put 2 curses in their hand. It would be 5 and 6. They take 11 damage, and it sets up lethal next turn. Or we could just draw some cards. I'm going to play the Abyssal Wave, and then we're going to get this guy down. Hopefully I didn't rope this turn because I was monologuing too hard. Oh, I'm sorry, that was 6 damage. Next turn is 7, 8, so we're going to have lethal in hand. Even if they have... Well, if they have Brucon, they can use the healing. Play the curse. 2 3s. That's great. Gotta look at the positives sometimes. Work can be exhausting. Finding things that encourage hobbies and interests is a great morale boost. Yep, agree with that. Hey Alex, do you prefer this curse version or the control curse version with entitled customer, twisting nether, spice bakers? Alex, I haven't actually played that version in a long time. I've just been playing this imp version, so I couldn't really speak to which one I prefer. I do like this deck. I've been struggling with it today since this live stream started. I was actually expecting more hunters. I think this deck is really good into Beast Hunter. I was hoping to hit more hunters, and I've missed the Beast Hunters today. I think I've only actually played that matchup one time. And we are currently at... Well, on the day we're 5 and 6. Looks like we're getting ready to win this straight 50%. So we're still climbing just because of my star bonus, but typically a 50% win rate isn't going to do it. But this version, if you're interested in it, it's good into Hunter. It's good into Shaman. It's good into Relic Demon Hunter also. If you're seeing a lot of Relic Demon Hunter. I've only played one Demon Hunter and they were playing aggro, and they absolutely destroyed us. So, deck is the best into Beast Hunter. Even Boon Priest is easier to beat for me. Yeah, Boon Priest is hard with this deck, man. Sometimes with Boon Priest, they go off on turn 4, and they'll have 2 minions that have over 20 health. Play the regular Imp Warlock deck with the new Copycat Imp card, and you'll hit the Hunters. I haven't tried that deck either. Your Imp is probably good. It's definitely a good aggro deck. That could be good into Ramp Druids as well, I would think. But I actually haven't played the new Imp card either. Finally! Alright. In before we get a really, really bad draw. Nah, we're not keeping the touch. Sometimes I talk myself into bad mulligans because I'm thinking, well, what if they play Trog on 1? And I'm going to use Touch of Nathrazim to clear it on 2. But you end up just keeping a bad card. So we want to go Flame Imp here. If they do have like a Trog, it's a value trade. If they have Peasant, it would actually be better to play Wicked Shipments because it would leave us with a 1/1 on the board, but this would be better on turn 3 with like an Impending Catastrophe. I don't know. You can make arguments either way. Oh boy! They didn't keep anything. Do you ever trade? I don't think you trade. Turn 3, we're doing this. We could just draw 2 cards now. If we tap, and then we have this on turn 3 just to draw cards. If they have the buff, they're going to buff and they're going to value trade, which is bad for us. But if they buff, it only goes to 4 health, so we could remove it with a drag below on turn 3. And then we'd have this on turn 4 to draw cards. Tough turn. Let's just get some cards in hand. And I'm going to make the trade here. It's just important not to fall behind on board and not take damage as much as possible. So they didn't have the buff, that's good for us. That's bad for us. That's actually really bad for us. So I mean, we could drag below. We could go Librarian, Grim Sacrifice the Librarian. That's going to leave him with a 2-1, and then just draw our cards next turn. Next turn we could go like this, cards and Grim Sack. Wild Spirits is their best play, so they could have a 3-1 on the board. Grim Sack would be good into that. Just going to remove the Trog, I think. Let's see. Sorry I didn't explain myself. I'm a dirty hunter one trick. No problems there. If you're going to play something, you might as well be playing something good, right? Take the list No Hands Gamer did yesterday if you're interested. It's the best beat hunter variation. I'll have to take a look at that. Alright, so this is going to work pretty good. We're drawing 3 cards. We've got the Grim Sacrifice to remove the Peasant because we don't want our opponent drawing stuff. And we hit more imp stuff. We're going to be able to have the Librarian coming down next turn. And if they have to trade here, that's good. Best turn for them is probably the Ashar and Saber 4-3 rush. 2 mana copy an imp with buffs. Seems win more, but usually helps me not lose. That's pretty good. Oh, they had it. We have second Grim Sack. We just take the board, right? Plus we can infuse the Rafam like this. We're still low on cards though. We're also low on health. If you want more flexibility, try this list with Gigafin and Sir Finley instead of Flame Imps, depending on your style or meta. You can also drop the touches for a Hellfire and a Twisting Nether. Interesting. Do I want to infuse this and just get it on the board? Problem is this guy. Boom, boom. Kill the 1/1s and then play the Rafam. It gives him 4 face, 6 face. Man, we start going really low on health, but I still think it's the best play. Getting the 1/1 poisonous off the board is fine. It's also possible that maybe they overreact to the Rafam, but I would assume that it's probably most correct for our opponent to go face here. Maybe they'll get confused. Prefer the Hunter deck without the Saber in it. Run Stormpike Ram, Shadehound, and Snake Trap. They just cast an Explosive Trap. How much do we care? I mean, it's damage. We're actually at a place where we can't afford to tap either. I mean, Explosive Trap... it's not that big a deal. It's only 2 damage. We're going to do this. And we're actually, unfortunately, we're going to have to trade for this guy. So we go to 9, 7, 6, but we missed 3 damage face. If we trade, we just totally lose the minion here. He trades next turn. Let's see, 15. Next turn we have 12. That's 27, 28, 30. Gosh, it's so close. We're going face. think we have to have the damage here. They're also holding 5 damage worth of curses. So close. That's 5. Five, 9, 11, and it's close. There's no way we can trade, and we can't tap either, right? They have weapon, hero power 5, 6. Turn before crush. You have 6 damage. Does this list run any direct damage like Stag Shot? I don't think they do, right? We just take our chances? Or we don't even have to take our chances, like with the tap. We just do this, go face, and pass turn. They take 9, they go to 6. They have to remove the board. They also block the board. And it's going to be close. But if they keep a curse in hand, it's just lethal next turn. We're not tapping. I would trade that 1 point of health as valuable. So the interesting thing about that is I was doing the math to see whether that 1 point of health is valuable or not. The 3 damage face is more valuable, in my opinion, in that situation, than saving 1 point of our health. So this is actually just lethal here. So we're going to get it over with. So you can see here, so they actually went to -3. So if we had made the trade, we would have had exact lethal that turn. But imagine a game where you miss, 1, 2, or 3 damage because of that trade. Oh baby, win streak. By doing the math and counting, you have to know your opponent's deck. So, when you're playing, it might mean if you're less familiar with Hearthstone or less familiar with the meta, you can look at websites like hsreplay.net. You can also look at vicioussyndicate.com. But knowing what's in your opponent's deck, you know how much damage they can do. And so pretty much you don't want to miss damage on your opponent's face, because if you miss damage on your opponent's face, over time meaning like hundreds or maybe even 1,000 games, your win rate's going to be a lot less than what it could be. And even if it takes you 6 months to play 1,000 games or a year to play 1,000 games, wouldn't you rather win another 50, 75, or whatever number of games over that period of time than to lose those games? So you just don't want to miss face damage. Sometimes trading is correct, sometimes it's incorrect. So the way I say it is, your default position should be, I'm going face. I want the face damage, because that's how you win. You set your opponent's health to 0. And then, as you're deciding on your turn and thinking through your turn, you see if there's any good reason to talk yourself into trading. If you find a good reason, this is going to give me more damage next turn, this is going to save health, and I really need my health right now, then, you have to do whatever's going to be the best play. But keep in mind, your hero health is a resource. And so you can use that just like you would spend your mana. You can spend your hero health to gain an advantage in the game. So hopefully that made sense. And I apologize, I got way behind on the chat, because I like to talk too much. I've done the Afterlife Attendant achievement. I'm not really into achievements, man. I'm probably going to regret it someday if they come out with, like, you can buy portraits with achievement points. I'm probably going to be really sad about that, but I'm not big on achievements. I'm usually playing Hearthstone to win, so I'm playing what I think is a good deck. Trying to make the best possible plays that I can make. But that's just me. Love curse decks. They're the one thing that negates solid alibi. Yeah, that's true. You know, the deck that I really miss, that I've tried to think, is it good, and it's just not, is the Warlock deck. What's that other curse where you put the fatigue cards in your opponent's deck? This is just double Librarian, right? They didn't keep anything. We go Librarian, coin Librarian into Wicked Shipment turn 2 and just start giving them the business. I can't resist. I'm not even thinking about it. If this is wrong, tell me in the chat that this is wrong and then tell me why. I'm not thinking about it. I'm playing double Librarian. We're going for the smork. Essentially one taking a high quality instructional video. Yes, it makes sense. Thank you for that. Oh! Oh! Do him! What does our opponent do on turn 3? Frostweave Dungeoneer? Ping! Fiendish Circle? I'll take the Library. And we're going to buff, because he's so intent on pinging this, we're going to buff this guy so that it doesn't die to an individual ping. This is, I've been playing for like 2 hours. This is the first like beatdown game that we've had. Maybe it's Big Spell Mage. Okay, so, I mean, Reckless is a good play, but you can see by buffing our 1 health minion that they really wanted to kill, we're able to protect our board as best we can. And unfortunately, we got a tap here. The beatdown is over. I think we just take our 4 damage face, though. Take our 4 damage face. I mean, look into the future. We're going to have Abyssal Wave into Lady Darkvein Grim Sacrifice. We're not really worried about the board. Floating 2 mana, it's unfortunate, but I think it's the correct thing to do here. We're just going to keep up our face damage. And we're keeping a lot of spells in our hand as well, so if they play like the Barbaric Sorceress on turn 6, hopefully they don't hit the Abyssal Wave. That's probably the one card we don't want them to hit. Curse of Agony, yeah, that's the one, man. That was a fun deck. Like, mill your opponent, stuff a bunch of curses in their hand. I used to beat Control Warriors, like, easily with that deck. It was so much damage with the Curse of Agony. Back when Control Warrior was good. You can actually Grim Sacrifice just to clean this up and not take damage. Because we'll still have Touch of the Nathrezim to be able to kill the 2-1 with the Abyssal Wave in it. And we're going to put 3/3s on the board. I'm not even sure we use the location. I don't think we have to. Potentially we hit some imps next turn. Also, like if they have their second location, we might have one unfrozen. I think this is fine. Save it. If we hit like a Fiendish Circle, we can get a bigger buff. There's a Flurry. And they actually clear the board anyway. I guess we would have had a 5-1, but it would have got pinged off. We haven't played any curses yet. So we could do like drag below and tap. We would want to start with the tap first. We're probably not going to be getting damage against our opponents with imps that are on the board, so we're really looking for the best way to be able to kill them with curses at this point. We're going to tap. There's a cool. I'm going to remove this and just try to save some damage. Could even just like tap and Lady Darkvein next turn to get the 2-1s with the drag below. Although sometimes you can end up in these weird situations where they kill the second one and there's no minion for it to be able to go on. Heal for 4. Just Abyssal Wave here. And Warlock deck that used Phylactery and Forge Fiend to gain a ton of armor the other day. Then you play Jailer and Miru to win. I saw that. Wasn't that a Tice deck? I want to say that was a Tice deck. think I just Abyssal Wave. We take 4, go down to 17. But if we hit like Bran into the Zakul, it's going to increase the healing from the Zakul here, so we're not going to overthink it, we're just going to do it. I think I don't want to play the Flame Imp. Again, the Imp stuff is just worthless now, unless we would want to play it to be able to draw cards with Impending Catastrophe. But the 3 health is actually important, I think. If they come to a position where they can play Mordresh, we need to make sure that we don't die to like Mordresh ping. They're never getting through all that armor. Darkbane is probably the best pick, but it doesn't necessarily matter. I think we can still win no matter what they take, but if they hit the Lady Darkbane, that's definitely the best card, and it's pretty likely that they have that option. They actually take... Yeah, this is a misplay, right? They just gave us a solid alibi. They took the Zakul, which is going to let them heal for 1. There's no way that's not a misplay. Like, I can even play this. Imps, and draw a bunch of cards to make sure that we actually win. Like, they take our healing, but it just doesn't matter, right? They're taking 2, that's going to put them to 18. Yeah, we're just drawing cards here. Not enough mana to play the Flame Imp. I still think this is fine. I think Wave is the best target for Darkbane. Yeah, it is, just because it's a board clear. Tice was playing something similar. Wave Darkbane next turn. Alright, so they get a little bit more healing than that. Which is unfortunate. We're also a little bit low here. So, we need to clear their board and heal up. So we're going to have to use our Tamsin, unfortunately.
I'm not getting any younger.
So we're going to go Tamsin, and then we're going to Grim Sacrifice on this guy.
Thank you for your service.
And then we can go Touch of the Nath Razim. Here, we're going to Grim Sacrifice the Tamsin.
I must hasten. Thank you for your service.
And then we're going to touch this guy, and then we just have to play the curses, right? Like, we don't want to take that damage. It's only 3 damage. Eh. Yeah. There's the Mordresh ping. Unfortunate. We found a way to lose this game. We're just dead. Nothing in our deck saves us either.
You haven't heard the last of me.
You got the guitar dude for sure. Yeah, that's how you lose against mages. I don't think that's a very good matchup for the deck. Alibi isn't all that useful against Curse Lock. That's true. I guess once you get past the phase of the game where the imps are punching you in the face, it's not that good. Darkbane will repeat Imp Catastrophe. That's right. I made that mistake one time a long time ago, so I always think about it before I do it. But I don't think we had the cards in our hand to be able to win that matchup, so I was wanting to dig through my deck for more stuff. That game started off so well, too. We're not keeping Mischievous Imp because we don't have anything else to go along with it. We got a bad starting hand this game, too. If this is Imp Warlock, and they hit the board early, it's likely we just lose. I mean, it almost has to be Imp Warlock, right? I don't think anybody's playing anything other than Imps. It's just a question of whether or not they have the curse package. And we're in trouble. They kept 3 cards. I think we're going to be on the receiving end of a beatdown this game. It almost doesn't matter if they play the curse package or not. They kept 3 cards, which means they should be in good shape here. Big oof. We're AFK, so this game is a loss. You could almost concede here. How many games from this point are you going to win? You never win from this point.
Wow, well played. Impressive. You win this time.
Hearthstone just selected us for a loss that game. We're not going to waste our time and their time. Although likely we would have been dead in 2 minutes anyway, or less. What do you think about extra large curse than this one? I don't know. I feel like Renathal is likely overused in a lot of Hearthstone decks. There's some decks where it makes sense. I think there's some decks where it doesn't make sense. Just because you're having to play 10 extra bad cards in your deck. For the Curse Warlock, I like the 30 card version. I don't think it's worth playing 10 bad cards just to be able to get 10 extra starting health. We're not keeping Catastrophe. This is like Mon Rogue or something. We may have been selected for another loss here. Especially with no turn 1 play. Might have been worth sticking out a few turns in case things change, but it didn't look great. I think it was just a loss, man. I can't imagine what would have to happen that game for us to be able to win, because we're just taking so much damage every single turn. Like, they just ignore your board and go face, so we were taking like 10 damage the following turn. And we're having to tap on 2 again. Where were you? I don't think any Warlock decks make sense with 40 cards. But this is probably... Well, let's see. Sticky Situation is good for our opponent, and Double Cross... It was Perjury, that's interesting. If they get like Explosive Trap from a Hunter, it's just going to infuse our Mischievous Imps. So I think we're fine with it. Secret decks are so annoying, man. I almost just want to concede because I don't want to have to go through the hogwash of playing against this deck. So if they have, like, they could potentially have Objection and Kidnap. So I don't just want to play this 4 mana, do nothing. Let's tap. And we'll check for Counterspell with this guy, I guess. And we're going face. Another Perjury. Weird card back that the Rogue has. Do you think that was one that was aimed at the China market? I don't know. I'm not sure that they necessarily aim card backs at certain markets. I mean, for me, art is just art. I think I want to use this in case it's a counterspell. I mean, not counterspell, in case it's an ice trap. They're trying to make it so that we can't play Hearthstone. We want to Abyssal Wave next turn, I'm pretty sure, which means We're just going to put everything face anyway, so let's find out if it's explosive. It is. And I'm still not ready to test for objection, I don't think. Okay, that's good. So we're going to take 9 damage here. Just want to tap again. And pass turn, so... If I'm the rogue, I shove 9 damage face here. They may trade just because people get confused. They think they have to remove imps against imp warlock. They take Abyssal Wave, I think I just concede. I don't know that it necessarily ends the game, but it's frustrating enough that I would rather just see my way out. Because once you get frustrated playing Hearthstone, you know, your next games you tend to play worse. I know they have some that are only available in China, but they have released some in the West now too. Thought it might have been one of those. Yeah, I don't know. Card backs are... It's kind of unfortunate because you don't really get to see the artwork. Looks like they took Our Lady Darkbane. Where's my 10 health? So they're drawing cards, but the board is clear. Lady Darkbane being gone isn't good. But Rogue does have, like, I think Shadow Step is a shadow spell, so they could actually... If they put a Shadow Step into the Lady Darkbane, that could actually be really bad for them, I would think.
Who here can spell Zinjari? Anybody?
You only get to see them really when the opponent plays it. And it has a choose one card or something. Yeah, it's unfortunate. So explosive runes or objection, I think, would be my guess. So if I think it might be explosive runes, we're just so low on health and we can't remove this. I don't even want to play this because if it's not objection... Okay, it is objection. So we get our infuses down. We don't even have the health to be able to tap, right? Because they have, like, Wicked Stabs. Rogue actually has Reach, so we're going to have to be really careful about what we do here. And unfortunately, the curse counter is low, so we can't get a lot of healing off the Zakul, but we may have to just go brand Zakul next turn. I think this game is still winnable, though. Depends on what our opponent has. If they have Krakatoa, I think we probably just lose here. We lose if the Edwin gets really big. Could be a kidnap. They just put a Shadow Step into the Lady Darkbane, so we're okay with that. The Edwin is big, though. We just can't deal with it. Brand Zakul isn't enough healing. 7. We can play this twice. We just don't have the cards this game. We have to tap and hit exactly dragged below to be able to remove the Edwin, and that assumes that they didn't play a kidnap. And we missed. Unfortunate, man. We just didn't have the tools that we needed to be able to play the game. All that brain power spent thinking about secrets. And it was all for nothing. Unfortunate, but it happens. Flame Imps are sitting in your hand every single game. Turn them into Gigafin and Sir Finley. Cutting Flame Imps makes it less likely that you're going to get a good start, though.
Your soul shall be mine.
So is it really worth it? Like, Flame Imp is one of the highest mulligan win rate cards in the deck. So when you start cutting cards like that, I feel like over time, you just lose more than you win. Because what we're looking at right now is a small sample size. Even if it's, you know, 5 or 6 games that you've noticed Flame Imp just sitting in my hand that I didn't want to play it, the sample size is too small to really make a determination like that. At least in my opinion.
My tongue.
Which region do you play? This is the Americas region.
Caught this one eating hearty snacks.
Once again, we're tapping on turn 2.
Are you little?
So we've got a favorable matchup here, but not the best of starts. Also not the worst, I guess. Yeah, this is awful now. I think we just have to remove the 4/4. We don't want to take the damage. They also still have 2 more kept cards, so if they have Wild Spirits, do they ever trade for the 1/1s? This pops. We go Flame Imp, Wicked Shipment. We would be able to trade that, but if they get the 3/1 rush, this just dies. Alright, we're going to try to save some health here. Look at the played win rate of Flame Imps, not just mulligan win rate. There's the Wild Spirits. They got the 2 best ones. This is looking like another game that we're really going to struggle to win here. That's probably the Asharan Saber. We're going to go wide. I think we're losing this game. Our opponents had one of the strongest possible plays every single turn of the game so far, and they still have a kept card in hand. Flame Imp only useful the first few turns of the game, and his only downside after that. Yeah, I suppose that's true, but I mean, once you start cutting... I mean, Flame Imp is a core card of the Imp package, so once you start cutting core cards of the Imp package, why are we even playing Imps? Because we would be cutting those to be able to invest more in, say, like the Curse package. And this is tough. Abyssal Wave next turn. This is a Curse deck with an Imp Pressure engine. The Imps are also the draw engine for the deck, with the impending Catastrophe. Winning this game, he doesn't know how to play against your deck? I'm not sure about that. If he trades for these minions and doesn't go face, then maybe we're winning this game because they don't know how to play. I don't know. All this damage should be going face. It's Face Hunter, he loses value over time. Are you sure it's Face Hunter? I guess it is with the Bard Nets. Well, They're making the trades here. That's interesting. We still take a lot of damage though, right?
I have no time for games.
Not really? Next turn we can just go wide, and then we'll have an infused Rafaam for the following turn. Maybe we do still get there this game. Base uses barbed nets and the click clocker. There were, I guess it's been a while, but at one time there were versions of the big beast hunter that used barbed nets. Four, 7, 8. Yeah, we'll have Rafaam and touch next turn. Three, 7, 13. So there's no way we have lethal next turn. But again, he might just start making trades. We likely just want to get rid of all of these 1/1s anyway, in case they have the what's that 8 mana card that deals damage to 3 minions and goes face? Doesn't know how to play against imps or is too afraid of them. Still semi-functional relic of the mage and druid meta, but in my experience not optimal in the broader meta at the moment. That's interesting. So we full trade and play the Rafaam, but we die to... We still die to the collateral damage. If we play Rafaam, we're dead to the collateral damage, so I can full trade. Or I could just Abyssal Wave. But I mean, we're still just dead to like second aim shot. I think we just have to full play and Rafaam and hope they don't have it at this point. Otherwise, we're not winning this game. We're never going to be able to get enough damage out of the curses. Pretty likely that they have it. Even if they don't have it, we still just lose. Yeah. Unfortunate, man. Just didn't get a strong enough start that game. He has aim shot, you're dead too. Yeah, exactly. That's one of those things where you can't play around it, so you just have to like make the best play that you possibly can. Versus Druid.
Let's have some fun.
Are we ever keeping both Flame Imps? I think we are. We can go like Librarian Flame Imp on 1 and a Flame Imp Wicked Shipment on 2. This is either going to be Lady Prester or Ramp. He had 2 taunts and a perfect curve. It's tough. Yeah, that was a tough game. It just happens sometimes.
Happy with scraps.
Oh wow, into circle on 3. Alright, 5 definitely goes face. I think we trade because it's pretty likely that they have wild growth just because they kept 3 cards. But if he goes here and hero powers this, we lose a lot of damage off of the Fiendish Circle next turn, right? Or by this not being on the board anymore. He still takes, I guess, 4 considering he gets the armor. We're gonna go face here. If he has to hero power to kill this, I think that's a win for us. Innervate hero power is a win for us. He didn't have wild growth. He just trades for the 3-2 anyway. So we're fine here. We're just gonna keep on going with what we're doing. So this turn probably, I guess, Seedsman. So he has like Seedsman and Guff. It's turn 4. They kept 3 cards and haven't played any of them yet. What else would they be keeping? It has to be Ramp Druid. And they kept 3 cards and they're playing Moonlit Guidance off the top. Like, this just doesn't make any sense to me. Whatever they drew, they have mana to be able to play it because they got 2 copies. Maybe the Rusher?
You gotta be scrappy with scraps.
Finally they play a kept card and it's this. So we've got 2 draws. File Library is just lethal. We can trade Library, buff, and kill him. They actually just concede. Opponent's AFK. They kept Scales, maybe? If they kept Earthen Scales, that has to be incorrect. Absolutely has to be. Alright, I'll be right back. While we're in queue.
Thompson versus Prester. Let the hunt begin.
Stormwind will tremble before Tamsin Rome.
Versus a Hunter. Hopefully we get a good start this time. Unfortunate. I think we've had some technical difficulties, but it looks like everything is okay now. We're back? I think we're back.
What a delicious party.
Man, tap on turn 2 again. How many times am I going to have to tap on turn 2 today? Also, am I taking a trade? I think I have to. Two kept cards. If they have like a dog biscuit, then they would actually be able to value trade, and that's really bad for us in the long term. Frog and peasant. Well, those were good top decks at least. Can't complain about that. So we're likely going to be playing Tamsin on 6. I think that's fine. We want to try to keep our opponent occupied on the board and make sure that they're, like, fighting these minions until we can start dealing damage with the curses. The problem is, my experience with this matchup has been you do need at least a little bit of damage at some point in the early game with your minions on your opponent's face. Otherwise, it's really hard to get there with the curse damage because of the amount of damage that you would have to do. Dog Biscuit. Do they double trade? They are not double trading. So we're going to set up for the Tamsin by punching here, removing that, and then the question is, do we want to tap or do we want to play the Tamsin? Or I'm sorry, do we want to tap or do we want to play the Vile Library? They only have 2 cards in hand. That's actually really good for us, and we're going to be able to clear their board unless they have like a Rat King. I think I would rather have the card than the location on the board. We just need more cards in hand to be able to win this. Potentially we're taking at least 6, maybe 8. If they play the 1/1, they'll still have a 4/1 on the board. That's crazy. We take a lot of extra damage because of that. Plus, they're going to have 2 minions that stick. Also, we don't have a way right now to be able to remove these 2. We need to hit like a Grim Sacrifice or an Abyssal Wave next turn, and we can't even tap for the Abyssal Wave, so whatever we have to be able to remove this, it's going to have to come off the top. And they get the Harpoon Gun, so we need them to consistently hit a beast off of the Harpoon Gun. The bigger concern is the amount of damage that it does. I mean, outside of that, it's been pretty low impact. We just don't have a way to be able to remove their board. That is crazy. We need a Grim Sack. So we can draw... Let's see, we're on 9.
What is taking so long?
So I'm going to play both the Librarians, and then we're going to play the Wicked Shipment. This is going to let us draw 4 with the Impending Catastrophe. And we actually miss on the Grim Sacrifice and lose the game. If we hit Grim Sacrifice here, then we can remove this and play a location and buff one of the Librarians, and maybe we're in business. But we actually just missed on Grim Sacrifice. Unfortunate, but I think we did everything that we could to try to win that game. That imp could be a Finley to guarantee sack. Yeah, I suppose that's true. I think we played this guy once already. Should be a good matchup for us. With Flame Imp and Wicked Shipment in hand, we're going to keep the Mischievous Imp. Again, I feel like the biggest concern with this deck is whether or not they're able to high roll and null with the location. into like the 12-12 or an 8-8 or Neptulon or something like that. Could also be a rogue, I guess, because of their portrait here. I'm gonna hold the coin. We might want to coin this out on turn 3.
Frostbite's sharper than bane.
And pretty straightforward turns here. We're just gonna get our stuff on the board, take a swing face. We'll let our opponent make the trade. They might want to try to value trade for a 1-1. Clownfish comes down, so I would think our concern now would be for like a Firemancer play. We can double trade with these and then coin out a Mischievous Imp. It's unlikely that they can remove 3 health minions, I think. And then we'll have another Mischievous Imp on turn 4 as well here. So they could have like Fungalmancer, maybe Amalgam. I think they can do 2 AoE, but not 3. I think. And they have to have the Firemancer to be able to do it. They still have 1 kept card here that could be the Firemancer. Maybe they were trying to set up for a turn 5 Mutinous, but that wouldn't necessarily make sense. There's the Ravager. Not super concerned about that. Pretty likely that they do have, like, the Fungalmancer for next turn. There's a Cookie. So even if they have it next turn, they still can't deal 3 AoE damage because they'd have to play another Clownfish. The Clownfish buff is gone. So I think we're just playing the Mischievous Imp and then probably Location the following turn. This one's infused as well. We're going to do that, and then we're going to go ahead and make this trade, I think. Because we're likely expecting the 3-2 to die anyway, and then the rest of this stuff is just going face. So they do still need the Fungalmancer, and they don't have it, so the damage face is just really piling up here. We're likely going to take a tap and just Vile Library.
Pick me, pick me.
So fairly decent discover for them. We're going to draw cards first. Drawing 5 cards is insane, and honestly, the impending catastrophe there probably just wins us the game. We drew 2nd Location. Not a super big deal. Again, I like to position like this just because of the Devourer, in case it's infused. It's just everything face, right? We could even like touch this just to make sure that they don't get some kind of a trade. There's no reason to make any kind of trades whatsoever. I think this makes it more likely that one of these 3/3 survives the following turn. So we've got 2nd Location next turn for additional damage. Our opponent's at 10, and we haven't even gotten into the curse package yet. We have Tamsin to be able to draw more cards, so it feels like this is just going to be a win. So we had a pretty strong start. Our opponent was struggling to respond to it, and then we were able to draw a bunch of cards from the Grim Sacrifice. So looking pretty good this game, at least. You love to see it. Primordial Wave. Still have 6 damage. See, we draw 7. We're going to overdraw 1. If we just play the Tamsin, but Tamsin probably locks up the game, right? Doesn't matter if we overdraw 1. We have 3. We could put 2 curses in hand. Up here, do 1. Play the Tamsin. What does he do if we just put curses in hand and go face? Boom, boom. And we have 2 additional curses. I mean, he's still taking damage. 1 and 2. We're just going to pressure him here. I think we're past the point of having to worry about trades in the board. I mean, he can't really afford to keep even just 3 damage in hand. So he would have to be able to play both of those curses. Brucon's not a thing yet, so no reason to overthink it here. Yep, Grand Shirikes, I think that's exactly correct. Juan. Assuming your name is Juan. Again, if I get anybody's name wrong, just let me know in the chat. You're always having to, well, not always, but sometimes you're having to guess about how things are pronounced. I kind of don't like it. I've always tried to be respectful of pronouncing people's names in my real life as well. Flame-Amp stats fluffed up by games like this. He's a win more aggro card who coattails the successes of a tempo deck. He just happened to be there for the action. And Juan is correct. Awesome.
Let's have some fun.
But yeah, I always try to pronounce people's name correctly, and I try to spell people's name correctly as well. We're just looking for the imp package here. We get a little bit of it, although location isn't really necessarily good in your opening hand, especially when you don't have any imps. That doesn't count. So at least we have an answer to like a turn 1 peasant. Our opponent full kept here, so if they kept all 4 cards in their opening hand, I think we're just expecting to get blown out, or our opponent kept bad cards. We'll have to see what happens here. Yeah, I always try to spell people's name correctly, too. I never realized how important that was until I met my wife, and she has an accent in her name. And she was telling me about how, like, her name is always misspelled because either the accent isn't there or it's in the wrong place. And, I thought about that, and I was like, you know, it is kind of disrespectful to, like, not spell someone's name correctly. Like, when you know better and you just don't take the time to spell it correctly, that's disrespectful. If you don't know, you don't know, but then once you do know, I feel like you should go out of your way to be respectful. Grim Sacrifice and no minions to play it on. Americans have trouble with J and R, it's funny. Yeah, I think if English is your native language, that's the case. I have a hard time rolling my R's, like for Spanish and French, just because it's not a sound that you make when you're speaking English. Man, that is unfortunate. I guess we're going to go ahead and take a buff here. Got to make it more likely that something survives. We're not taking a whole lot of damage, but our opponent having the weapon is going to be bad news for us. At this point, it feels like we're just trying to survive until we can get down Tamsin and hopefully draw some cards. Oh wow, so they're going to overwrite their harpoon gun next turn when this thing opens up. They also take a trade there. So we're going to draw cards this turn. Wicked Shipment, Impending Catastrophe. We can like trade for this, and then Grim Sacrifice is going to clear what they have on the board currently. So we don't care that the Trog is actually adding minions, because we're going to be removing them all. This lets us draw 4. They also hit second Grim Sack, second Wicked Shipment. I think we just go ahead and play, to be honest. So, location's online next turn, and we're going to have the Fiendish Circle. We've got Tamsin if we need it next turn. But I think we're likely going to be better just buffing with the location and get a big imp. Although I don't like the idea of the 5/4 sticking. I don't like the idea of that either. Just because it allows our opponent to be able to remove stuff. So, I mean, we can go circle. We can actually clear with this Grim Sacrifice, and it's going to infuse our Rafam, which seems like a pretty good play here. So we go circle, buff, trade, boom, boom, and sacrifice. It's going to clear his board. And it allows us to tap, right? Because that's only 4 mana. So we're going to tap first. This is cool. That leaves us 7-3. If he has to face tank this, that's really good for us. If he's able to clear the board, we can play an infused Rafam. If he plays a minion, we can infuse our own Rafam. So we're in pretty good shape here. He is going to take 7. Rafam is actually 1 off of being infused. Just like tap and tempo the Zakul. So I guess Mountain Bear is probably our opponent's best play here. If they play Mountain Bear, they're not removing the Zakul. They do play the Mountain Bear. Okay, they do remove the Zakul. I was not expecting the... definitely was not expecting the Devouring Swarm there, so... I think we just absolutely play the Rafam here. Gives us a huge board. We can even like location first, then play the Rafam, and we'll be able to buff one of these. It'll save us from taking damage there. I think I like it. They're just not going to be able to win from here, right? We get 1 less minion, but it's going to give us 1 bigger minion. And I'm going to go ahead and bump in like this. I don't think our opponent has anything that's going to be able to beat this on 8 mana. Should just be looking to kill him next turn. If not, I mean, we can put 2 curses in their hand for the additional damage. Should be able to find lethal. I guess Mountain Bear is pretty good here, but we likely find a way to get lethal damage even through second Mountain Bear. Or do we? Might take 1 additional turn. I guess we can tap. We can just circle. That'll give us a bigger buff on the Vile Library for the following turn. And... we can just do it like this. Take this trade. Play a Flame Imp. Hey Black Tux, glad you're here. I just watched one of your videos, months old, about a Paladin mech deck. Just wondered if you had more videos or VODs where you play with it, learn to love more. I actually don't. Commander Ickman. Very unfortunate, but I think we still just win with the Abyssal Wave here. So our opponent was actually close. Bag below, Abyssal Wave, end turn. I have not played Mech Paladin in a couple of months just because I don't think the deck is as good as it was. So no, I haven't done anything recent with Mech Paladin, unfortunately. I think right now, if you're interested specifically in Mech Paladin, you're probably going to struggle to find content on Mech Paladin. I have not seen any content creator making videos or live streams on Mech Paladin in quite some time. If you're interested in the Paladin class, I think you can definitely find people that have been playing the Paladin class recently. There's, I think, a Dude Paladin, as well as like Pure Paladin that's being played right now. So if you look around, you can probably find something on that from somebody else, but nothing that I have currently in the way of content on Paladin in general. If you're interested in the Dude Paladin, I think you can check out a person named Superior David. They're on Twitter, and I think he was playing that Dude Paladin deck back to Legend this month. He streams on Twitch. I think he also has a YouTube. You might be able to check out some content from him on YouTube. I think also Baby Bear on YouTube, competitive player, definitely highly skilled player, has been playing some Pure Paladin within the last few weeks. They might have a YouTube video available for you. But yeah, you can definitely look around to be able to find something. I just don't have anything myself at this time. And that is actually going to do it for me, guys. I've been live for, I think, about 3 hours, which isn't very much, but I feel like my voice is going to give out because I don't do the live stream thing very often. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you hanging out, and you can definitely look forward to additional content from me in the future. I'm going to try to fit in a live stream when I can. It seems like some people enjoy this. I'm typically more of a long-form video guy, though, just because for me personally, it's easier to be able to work on a video over the course of, maybe 2 days or possibly 3 days and do recording rather than being able to have to sit down and block out this many hours of time with the other responsibilities that I have. So definitely you can look forward to more content from me coming in the future. Thank you again for watching. I'm Uncorrupt. Good luck out on the ladder.